there any practices and tools that you've implemented in your life that have helped you along the way?
For me, it's developing a you can do it attitude, right? And we already started to talk about that. You get up, and if you wake up, that's enough. And then you do what you can do. And for me, that's more than just, I say I don't do unicorn and roses, right? Like, yay, this is a happy mantra. This is an affirmation. I put on, like, you can do it, right? It's not the cheerleader thing, although there's that aspect. But when you break that down into the different parts, it can become a daily practice, right? So the first part is you do what you can do, right? Like, and it's that you piece. All of us are individual. I talked about archetypes, right? We all have our own unique personality aspects of ourselves. And so all of us, even though there are certain behaviors, you can read different parenting books, you can read different business books, right? There's certain strategies that we can use to be effective parents, but ultimately we're all going to bring our own unique flavor to it, right?
Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today we have a special guest, Kimberly Parry. She earned her E.h.D, her experience of hard knocks degree, when she navigated the onset of life-changing chronic illness, her divorce, a major career change, all in the same year. Through this experience, she learned how to connect with herself at a core level and to navigate any circumstance life has to offer. As a life stylist, she now helps other women do the same. She's a certified master professional coach, certified divorce recovery coach, certified personal stylist who helps women come to know themselves, trust themselves, love themselves, so that they can emerge empowered in life. She is also a single mom of 3, joining us from Utah. Welcome, Kimberly. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. I love what you're doing. I think it's so important that we have these discussions and support each other
Totally.
because it can be really easy to feel alone and lonely in the process of single parenting. So I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, and I'm excited to have you. So please share with us your journey, your story. How did you become a single parent? Was this a decision, a choice, an accident? What happened?
All the above. I think we'll say I spent my life in academia. I had a career. I had the dream, right? I had the house. I had the 2.5 kids. I was pregnant when things started to move toward divorce in my marriage, but I had a career that I loved. I had 2.5 kids. We did have a dog at the time. And then just some disclosures came out with my now ex-husband that led us to counseling and different things. And just the stress of everything started to build. And although I loved my career, I had reached a point where things had kind of plateaued. You spend a lot of your life climbing ladders and moving up the chain, but then you get to a point where you're at the top of the chain and there's not really anywhere else to go. And it's fun. It's a nice place to be, but it gets stagnant. And so there were all these aspects of my life that just kept feeling like there was a little nudge. I was feeling a little bit stuck. I was feeling a little bit off. And then things in my relationship started to deteriorate, things in my career, just with the stress that was going on at home. And then the stress at work that was wearing on me. And 2 months after my son was born, I was excited to get back to life. It was a really hard pregnancy. And I was excited to get back to work and get back to doing all the things. And I was on the phone with a friend, and it was like a neurological bomb went off. The right side of my body went numb. They thought I was having it was stroke-like symptoms. And so I was rushed to the hospital. They ran a bunch of tests, couldn't find anything wrong. And that started a process of a year of testing and diagnosis and going to medical appointments. And my symptoms didn't improve. They actually got worse to the point that I had a bed in my living room and other people were coming in and taking care of my kids. I couldn't hold my son because I didn't know when my arm was going to go out on me. I couldn't walk, I couldn't drive because I didn't know when my leg was going to go out on me. And in the middle of all that was when my ex and I separated. Just the stress of everything that we were going through. It didn't ruin my marriage. Some people say, oh, well, the stress of chronic health ruined it. And it didn't. It just made it so that things that we had been able to ignore when we were really busy, we couldn't ignore anymore. I had been picking up a lot of responsibility at home and things. And when I couldn't do all the things that I normally did, all of that fell to him. And it just spiraled to where we were separated. And then we eventually divorced. And so with all that going on, in the period of 1 year, I lost my health, my marriage, and my career all in the same year. So I was a chronically ill single mom who suddenly was the sole provider with no job.
Oh, wow.
So that was the story of how it came to pass. So was it by choice? Yes, I was the one that eventually filed. My parents were saying, you can't divorce him, you need insurance. My ecclesiastical leader was saying, you can't divorce him, just the religious, backgrounds. And the class I was teaching, I was actually teaching religion at the time, and I was teaching for 9 years a class on marriage and family. So there's the irony of it all, right? And everyone's telling me you can't divorce, you need insurance, you need help, you need all these things. But I knew in my gut that if I stayed in that relationship, the stress would kill me. I knew it in my bones, and I knew I could either choose to stay in that relationship and write it out as long as I had, or choose divorce. And so from a bed in my living room, broke, no job, everyone, like my support system telling me I couldn't, I chose to get divorced. And there were circumstances and things. I don't think any divorce is ever all one person or the other.
Yeah.
The relationship wasn't healthy for him either. We were not a good fit, and we tried to make it fit, but it just wasn't working. And so that's how I ended up becoming a single mom with 3 kids, rebuilding my life, rebuilding my career. And now I get to help other women find their way through the journey and find their way back to themselves, because everyone asks me, how do you do it? How did you do that with all those things going on? And it is a journey, it is a process, and it has become one of the greatest gifts in my life. So
Beautiful, beautiful. I love how you were able to turn everything around from where you've been to how far you have come. And we're always on the journey, but kudos.
yeah.
Great job.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely a journey. It's definitely a journey. It keeps giving, right? I'm still on the path. So
Yeah. Yeah. How did you deal with the challenges you faced when you became a single parent and you know
one of the things that I do is, as a stylist, one of the first things that we're taught is to create an archetype for our clients, right? And you dress the archetype. And in English, I was an English major for 7 years and studied archetypes, which is just another way to say characters. So I studied characters in literature, right? Like the Cinderella pattern, the Cinderella story that shows up in a lot of different books, or different archetypal patterns. And so when I became a stylist, it was, it's not about creating a character, it's about helping people know their character, right? And so that's what happened for me. And I have an archetypal piece of me that's a warrior. And it's kind of like Wonder Woman, but not the, Wonder Woman in go-go boots that looks all pretty. It's like that Amazon warrior princess who's like riding the horse. And that part of me, it's the kind that goes in like a bull in a china shop, right? Because it's so strong and powerful and I'm going to do this, but then it kind of leaves a wake. You got to clean up all the broken china. after. But that piece of me is what kicked in. You know, people say, how do you do that? How do you do that? And for me, it's what's the choice? You know, how did I get through it? I got through it because I woke up. You know, it's been the hardest chunk of life, but it's been a hard 7 years. And yet at the same time, there's that piece of me that just does it. You just get up and do it. And that's, you know, that's one of the things that we talked about coming into this interview is just you can do it, right? Whatever it is, whatever it looks like, if you wake up, if you woke up today, number one, sometimes that's enough. I found you got up. You got up today. Good job. Celebrate. And then whatever comes, okay, you find a way through it. And I found living in the present instead of living in the future or the unknowns, right? Trying to predict the future puts me in fear mode. But today I can do anything that comes today, even if it's laying in bed because I can't get out of bed, but at least I got up. But it's that warrior piece of me that just it doesn't know how to give up. It doesn't know how to quit. And not everybody has that. You know, it's not, oh, everybody has a warrior. Not everybody does. Sometimes people have, you know, different aspects of themselves, different character types that show up. Sometimes it's an angel. Sometimes it's a saint. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of that devil to get up and get the fire and get the fight, right?
Yeah.
You find that aspect of your character, you find that piece of yourself that'll get you through. And that's where when you know yourself and trust yourself and love yourself, that's when you know you can do anything that life throws your way. And that was my path.
That's amazing. Awesome. And you're right. You know, being present when we are right here, right now, we don't need to worry. We're totally perfectly fine. We're healthy. We are well when we are in the now.
Yes.
And
Today. I can do today.
Yeah.
We'll do tomorrow.
It's when we start to worry about the future of the things that didn't come or start rethinking, oh, I should have done this or that. Like
Yeah. We can
past
get
a
stuck in
lot.
the past too, for sure,
Yeah, we
especially when
miss
it comes
out.
to divorce and single
Yeah. Yeah.
parenting. Yeah.
So are there any practices and tools that you've implemented in your life that have helped you along the way?
Yes, and this is kind of the theme of what I wanted to talk about. For me, it's developing a you can do it attitude, right? And that's we already started to talk about that. You get up and if you wake up, that's enough, and then you do what you can do. And for me, that's more than just, I say I don't do unicorn and roses, right? Like, yay, this is a happy mantra. This is an affirmation. I put on, like, you can do it, right? It's not the cheerleader thing, although there's that aspect. But when you break that down into the different parts, it can become a daily practice, right? So the first part is you do what you can do, right? Like, and it's that you piece. All of us are individual. I talked about archetypes, right? We all have our own unique aspects of ourselves. And so all of us, even though there are certain behaviors, you know, you can read different parenting books, you can read different business books, right? There's certain strategies that we can use to be effective parents, but ultimately we're all going to bring our own unique flavor to it. Right. And so it's that you piece when we stop comparing ourselves to other parents. And as single parents, I think we do this a lot. Yes, we compare ourselves to single parents, but we also compare ourselves to two-parent homes. We compare ourselves to people who don't have our circumstances, who maybe have more financial resources, or maybe have more education, or maybe have children who don't have some of the challenges we have. I'm a single parent raising two children who have mental health issues, and they're polar opposite mental health issues, right? And I compare myself sometimes to parents whose children don't have the same challenges that my kids have. And that can be really damaging because when we try to mimic what someone else is doing, or when we beat ourselves up because we're not someone else, then we're not doing what I can do, right? You're not doing what you can do. So that's the first piece is you can do it, right? Do you. And that is the most effective and efficient way of living life because you can't do anyone else as well as you can do you. So
Yeah.
the second piece is do what you can do. And I said, with my chronic health issues, and I still live with them, I've learned that it's a day-to-day thing. I wake up in the morning, I see how I feel in the morning, and then, that kind of determines I kind of have a feel for how much I'm going to have throughout the day. And some days, what I can do is wake up, as I said. Today, fortunately, is a day. Today, I feel like I can do a lot. But you look at what you can do. And I think another thing that single parents do is we beat ourselves up, feel that pressure of being all the things for our kids, the fighter and the nurturer. You need to, sometimes we feel like we've got to be the therapist and the doctor, and God, for our kids. And as humans, we can't do that. We're not meant to do that. We're meant to be interdependent beings. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. Our strengths allow us to serve, and our weaknesses allow us opportunity to ask for help and to get help. And so when I know what I can do instead of trying to do it all, then I know where to ask for help. And it does take a village, even for two-parent families, right? We all need a village to raise our children. Our kids are going to be inspired by teachers and friends and my, therapists and all these different people who come into their lives. And so taking off the pressure of having to be everything and doing what you can do, right, helps. And then there's that last piece of do what you can do. And there's the quote by Maya Angelou that she said to, I want to say she said it to Oprah Winfrey, or Oprah at least quoted it a lot, but it said, people won't always remember what you said or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel, right? And when we realize that who we are makes more of an impact than what we do, especially in the lives of our children, right? What we normally beat ourselves up over, and I do say we because I've worked with a lot of divorced women. I've been in this world for a while. But we beat ourselves up over the to-do list. Oh, I didn't get this done. I didn't get this done. I didn't make a four-course meal. I got into the bus late. I mean, some days I'm like, oh, I got him to school. Yay, that's a win. But we beat ourselves up over the to-do list, thinking our kids are going to judge us or hate us or whatever, that we're ruining their lives because we didn't do everything. But who we are matters more than that. And when we get that concept, what we do comes into perspective, right? And so who you are, if you are a loving parent who is showing up the best you can, that's enough. That's enough. And if you're showing up in love, and sometimes love can be frustrated and irritated, right? It doesn't mean that we're always happy and excited about our children's behavior, right? But we can be loving and we can do our best and we can have good intentions and do what we can do authentically, and we do it the best we can, and we do it lovingly, then it doesn't matter how much of the list got done, because it's that quote, they won't remember what we said or what we did. What they will remember is how we made them feel, right? And letting the pressure off ourselves that I'm not anyone else. So I'll do what I can do, and I'll do it the best way I know how. And how I do it is going to be different than any other mom on the planet, in good ways and maybe in some ways that I can work on, right? I'll do what I can do. And some days I can cry in the fetal position in the shower. We've all done it, right? And some days I'm a rock star mom taking my kids to the park, and all their friends think, friends think I'm hype mom these days sometimes. And some days if I lock myself in my room and I'm not a screaming lunatic, that's a good day, right? I have managed myself. I've done what I can do. And what I do is great, but it's far less important than who I am. And who I am is a better mom than I've ever been. I'm speaking for myself, maybe for you too, but like this process, I'm a better mom than I ever was before my health issues, before my divorce. I was so caught up in all those to-do lists. I was so caught up in the rat race, just trying to do all the things
Mhm.
that I lost sight of who I was. And now I know who I am. I am a loving mom. I'm a dang good mom. I do it the best I can. And I enlist a lot of help and a lot of support from coaches, from teachers, from therapists, from ecclesiastical leaders, from extended family. And if you feel like you are the only person, I have friends who are orphans, whose both parents have passed on and they don't have a lot of family support, then you choose your family and you find family in neighbors and friends, and people will show up and you're not alone. So that's the practice, is you can do it. It's what I do every day. It's what gets me through every day. And I found it helps other people give themselves some love and give themselves a break when
I
our
love it.
to-do lists are never ending.
I love it. Yeah, it's all about being. I think we forget about
Mhm.
being. We just do, because maybe example set by society or our own parents, and you want to live up to the expectations. And like you said, we always compare ourselves to others who have different circumstances and who are different beings. And I
Yep.
love that, focus on what you can do, what you are able to, and celebrating the small wins, the fact that you woke up today, being grateful and being
You and I are
present.
both awake. We did it. So anything beyond that? Oh, girl, anything beyond that, we're rock stars.
Yeah. And I also love how you said, we all have weaknesses and we all have positive sides. Our strengths and weaknesses allow us to ask for help. I think we often forget that. We feel like we got to do everything, but we really don't have to. We weren't designed to do everything.
Yeah, we weren't.
We
We
have
weren't.
all our
And if
all.
you could do everything, I mean, it's that piece where people need my strengths. If they didn't, I'd have no job. There wouldn't be anything for us to do, right? Like it's that yin and yang that I love about life, right? Yeah, we have our strengths where we can shine, and it's okay to let other people shine. They need to.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
Ah, that is a good question. And I would say for me, I tried to do a lot for them. I think a lot of times as single parents, we want to overcompensate to help ease the pain, right? Divorce is not an ideal situation for anyone. I mean, sometimes it's the best choice, right? But it's not always ideal. And it is hard for kids to go through that. And so I wanted to do a lot of things for them, or step in front of the bus for them, take the hurt, take the pain. But I realized that what I was teaching them was that they weren't capable of going through pain, or they weren't capable of going through different things. If I always had to fix it and I always had to save them, then they couldn't. Right. And when I stopped doing that, and I still love them, I walk with them through their pain instead of trying to take their pain. And it has helped them find their confidence and find their path. And it allows them to have their own experience with divorce. Their experience is not mine. Their experience with my ex and with me is not the experience that I had. And each of my kids has processed divorce and single parenthood differently. One of my kids is like, oh, there's so much relief since you got divorced. And then there's others there's so much pain, and just letting them have their experience without trying to make it mine or trying to fix it, I think has taught them self-confidence, which for me is key to resilience for all of us, and that they know they can get through anything, that they know that they can do anything that comes their way. And for me, self-confidence and self-love
Mhm.
are the two big keys that I really hope that my kids have to get through life.
Yeah, true. Those are important. I think self-confidence, when we are no longer around, for them to being able to feel good about themselves and do the things that they can do and not afraid, and
Yeah.
taking care of, our own mental health and our own physical health. so that
And
they,
model that for them,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is your superpower?
My superpower is the ability to see the highest potential in others, and I can finally see it in myself. I've always been a cheerleader, and I've had a way of just seeing the goodness. Even I don't want to say even in my ex, right? But I know a lot of times, and we have not had the smoothest experience, right? So it's not like we're one of those amicable couples that hangs out all the time. That is not us. But yet I've always been able to see, even now, I he has so much potential. And being able to see the goodness and the strengths and the beauty in everyone, I think is really one of my superpowers. And it's one of the things that got honed a lot while I was laying on that bed in my living room. When I couldn't do anything, especially for someone who's kind of been a type A overachiever, that was a big shock to the system for me. And I did feel kind of worthless because I'm like, what am I worth when I can't even get out of bed? Right? Like, what is my value? And I found as people came in and out of my home, right? And as I was getting rides, um, when you're going through that kind of challenge, other people see that and they feel like they have someone they can talk to, right? Like, oh, my challenges aren't that big, or oh, you know, things aren't as bad, but it allowed them space to talk, and people would talk and open up. And that's what led me to coaching. But I realized, just being able to see people is a gift and a blessing. So I'd say that for me and for others has been a superpower.
I love it. So what is your highest potential, do you think?
Mm. My highest potential is to love and to serve and to empower. It's what I do. When my clients catch a vision of who they are, I'm talking about archetypes. I talk about the Cinderella story a lot. I never wanted to be a princess. That Amazon warrior doesn't want to put on a frou-frou party dress, right? Like it just, other people wanted to be a princess, and I'm like, not for me. But the fairy godmother, right, who comes in and transforms. A lot of people talk about that story like Cinderella saved by a fairy godmother. I'm like, no, she's not. The fairy godmother gives her one night, right? She transforms the things that Cinderella already has available. She doesn't create anything new. She transforms it, but it's for a couple hours. And then the clock strikes midnight, everything goes back to normal. Cinderella is left where she is, right? The
Right.
fairy godmother doesn't save her. The prince doesn't save her. But Cinderella catches a vision of herself and catches a vision of her potential, and that changes everything because she can't go back to life the way it was. She's no longer okay cleaning up after other people. She's no longer okay playing small. And that's what gives her the courage to fight abuse. It gives her the courage to step into her power. And when I see that come alive for people, oh, it lights me up. It lights me up. And so I see myself as a fairy godmother who like would wear leather and ride a Harley. Like I don't have a motorcycle, right? But it's like that kind of like, I'm gonna light you up. Yes, yes, we are, not the, magic wand, but my job isn't to save, and it's not even to do the transformation, but to help my clients see their potential. And when they do, ooh, to watch them shine and to watch them grow and to watch them change the world, and rock the world in the way that only they can. It's everything. It's why I'm here. It's my purpose.
I
So
love it. I love it.
I'm like the Amazon warrior princess meets the fairy godmother, right? Like I'm a fun character. I'm just a little character over here.
Totally, totally. Just like you said, life is a play and we are all actors. We all play
Mhm.
a role and, catching a vision of the role and then making it come alive. I think that's the best part.
Yeah, and you're only a sidekick in someone else's story. You're not a sidekick in your own story. You know,
Yeah.
you are the lead character in your play.
Was there a book that inspired you that you read that changed your life for the better?
A lot. Like I said, I was an English major. I
So what's
read
your
a lot
favorite?
of books. And so it's like, well, what book is transforming my life today? I think the one that helped me a lot when it came to navigating my divorce and finding all of this was Carolyn Meese, Sacred Contracts is the book that she wrote. And she talks a lot about archetypes. And I actually found her because she started as a medical intuitive. So going through all of my chronic illness, I was realizing medical science wasn't giving me all the answers. And so I was looking for emotional answers. The body keeps the score and different things like that were different books I came to. But I came to hers and it talked about how, we all have archetypal patterns that are growing and emerging and developing. But we have sacred contracts with people in our lives. Like people will show up to help us become the best version of ourselves. And my ex is really one of those. I say that he's a soulmate, and that does not mean romantically. That, like I said, that is not our experience or our reality right now. And yet I honestly have never met anyone who tests me in the way that he has. But I honestly am so much more myself from having gone through that experience and through my experience with him, even with co-parenting that continues to test me. um, but it is, and seeing relationships in that way, seeing our circumstances in that way was really foundational in moving me out of victim, where it's not, oh, he's doing this to me. Oh, nobody's helping me in this situation with him, or he needs to be held accountable. It's when I realized that we were in this dance and seeing that my personality, we are very different personalities, and
Mhm.
those differences were not compatible in a marriage. And yet we're the only ones who will push some of those aspects where we need to grow. And it's not always fun. It's not always pleasant. Our kids, we have sacred contracts with our kids, right? Each of them is different. And realizing that was part of what helped me have empathy for the places where I felt like I was failing or
Mhm.
where I wasn't serving them. Just in realizing my kids are in my life, they have given me lots of opportunities to grow and to work on patience, which is not one of my natural gifts, to work on, things like that. But I'm also a gift for them too. And sometimes we push ourselves out of our comfort zone in not pleasant ways, but sometimes there are really beautiful blessings that come. And every person who comes into our life, is part of that. Sometimes it's just for a brief moment, sometimes it's for a longer moment, but that book is one that has been incredibly foundational. It's still archetypes. It's part of, the framework is part of a large body of information that I draw upon as a stylist to help my clients come to know themselves and understand their contracts and their situations that they're navigating so that they can feel more empowered in life.
Yeah, it sounds very nice, interesting. I want to read it.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. I liked it.
Are there any fun projects you're working on that you like to share?
Oh my goodness. One of my favorites right now, I'm actually having my first event in May that I'm hosting. I am a TEDx speaker. One of my friends who is on the TEDx stage with me is going to be the keynote speaker at my event, but it's a Mother's Day hot mama extravaganza where we are bringing women in for what I call pampered empowerment. So there's catered breakfast, catered lunch. We're going to have games and door prizes and giveaways. So all the fun and all the magic, but with the intention of redefining beauty on our terms, owning our beauty, talking about appreciating our bodies. I've got a photographer coming in who's talking about how owning your natural beauty can help you feel more comfortable in front of a camera because a lot of women we're like, oh, I hate pictures. How do you take a natural picture? But it's not just about how you look, right? It's about bringing who you are. I've got some makeup experts who are coming, and it's going to be fun. So that event, and then still building my digital courses, my Unlock Your It Factor program, which walks people through getting connected with your soul system, and my signature soul styling, which is that fairy godmother experience of an inside out makeover, which as fun. So I've got a couple things going on, and yeah, it's fun. It's a fun year.
It sounds exciting. I love that.
I
Tom.
love it. I love it.
Awesome. Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
I don't think so. I just think the one thing I would love to leave with this audience as someone who's been there, who is there, um, the process of single parenthood isn't always pretty. It's not always easy. It doesn't always look like the dream. And so just in having some self-compassion with yourself and having courage and strength to know you're not alone. You can't screw it up. Even if we do, like I've had my therapy from my family of origin stuff. It's just we're human. Will we affect our kids? Yes. But even so, there's nothing that we can do to to break the process, right? Our kids can get counseling later in life if, for whatever issues that there are, but just to have some self-compassion and the courage to just do your best and to know it's enough. Just sending that love and sending that support for anyone who's listening who might be having a hard day or might be struggling to get up because there's days when, yeah, I just want to stay in bed. Like there's days where I'm like, can I just hibernate until my kids get through this phase or until, something changes. So you can do it and you're doing a great job. So
I love it. I think that's very important message for people to hear that you can do it. Because oftentimes we think of the things that aren't working, of the things we don't have and the things we cannot do, and we
yep.
miss the opportunity to focus on what is possible, what we are capable, and what is already is available and happening. We miss that because we take a lot of time for granted.
Yeah.
Like I took
Yeah.
for
And life is
granted
short. Life is
walking
short and it
until
is
I
vulnerable.
dislocated my knee.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Um,
never, you never know when things are going to change. I learned that the hard way. And it's too short not to live it.
Totally, totally. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And I love, your key lessons of you can do it and instilling
Yes.
self-confidence in your kids and being more than doing, because oftentimes, yeah, we do focus on doing and we forget about who we are being in every moment. So thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It was so fun to be here. It's so fun to be here. I love this conversation.
Thank you.